Hello, everybody, it's Bendominator, and welcome back to another episode of the Bendominator podcast. Today we're on episode 34 of the podcast, excuse me, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. And yeah, it's yet another week where we really don't actually have that much news, but I'm going to try to make the best out of the podcast this week because I always love doing the podcast. I just love chatting here. So yeah, overall, it's been a weird few weeks, honestly, for me in the last week. It's, I've been really excited for Fortnite recently. I've been really excited about it, but I haven't really played the game in the last week. And I think that's mainly because I kind of took the last week ever since Christmas to just kind of chill, just kind of sit back, enjoy my time off from school and everything. And, I've been grinding on Fortnite content a bunch at the start of chapter 3. I've been grinding out the game a bunch. For like ever since chapter 3 came out, it was the only game I played up until this last week. And this last week I've kind of just spent, chilling out, hanging out. I did, of course, the weekly Brim stream. Of course, I'm doing the podcast. This week we're going to get back into doing content more often. I did 2 commentaries, but overall, I didn't do too much of the channel. I didn't live stream a whole lot and stuff, which I kind of regret a little bit because I feel like whenever I have time off, it's always best to kind of fully go into live streaming as much as I possibly can and to upload and do all that kind of stuff. But it was also kind of nice to just have a week off and just not really have to worry about content that much. I made 2 videos, I did the live streams and stuff, but I think I only streamed for Brim, and that's about it. So, yeah, it's just kind of, I've been sitting back playing other games. I haven't even been playing Fortnite that much recently. The most I've played it all week was when I hopped on today with some friends, and we just played a bunch of creative maps, which is really fun because, I'm really starting to like the whole creative XP thing. It's really annoying that there's like a bunch of issues with it when it comes to people, kind of abusing it for XP and stuff, which I don't have a problem if you use the XP glitches. I really don't care if you do that. I just have a problem with the fact that Fortnite, you would think Fortnite should have known that this was going to happen if they introduced this kind of thing. It's just kind of weird. It's like, I knew from the second Accolades was announced that people were going to abuse it and that there was going to be glitches with it. And yep, of course there's glitches with it, and they release it right before they go on a 2-week break where they can't really have time to fix it, especially with creative. Like, if there's a bug in creative, they can't do anything about it till the next update because of how the update schedule goes. For BR, they can release a patch whenever. Because if something's broken in BR, they're going to patch it out. And they might have to wait. Like, if there's like a game-breaking bug, something as crazy as the XP glitches in creative mode. But for creative, they have to stick with the update schedule. They can't, I don't think they've ever sent out a patch to fix something in creative. That's why there's so many creative bugs, is because, they're not, it's not that there's more than there are in BR, it's just that they take longer to fix because, actually, I think there might be more in BR just because creative's a whole beast. It's harder to, accommodate for those kind of things. But, so I won't be surprised if there just were more bugs in creative mode. But it takes them so long to patch them out because they can't just release a patch for creative. They don't do that. They only do that for BR. And I guess they used to do it for Save the World. So, yeah, it kind of sucks, but if people want to abuse XP, I don't care. I personally am not partaking in any of the XP glitches because I enjoy the grind of the battle pass. I enjoy taking my time with it. I don't like rushing through the battle pass. I like taking my time with it, unlocking things, slowly getting to use skins as I unlock through the battle pass. It's just a very satisfying experience for me. So, yeah, me personally, I like taking the battle pass kind of slow and just enjoying getting all the enjoyment out of each cosmetic before I unlock the next one. That being said, I do tend to skip a lot of tiers to get to the skins that I like, but I think I'm just benefits of the new system. I like the new system where you can pick what you want. I wish it was more open, but I see why they don't have it be open because they don't want you going to Spider-Man right away because they know if you do that, you're not going to spend as much money on tiers, and it's kind of a whole thing like that, which I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't know why they do it, but I get it. They're a business, so Yeah, it's just that. I guess that's kind of my thoughts on creative XP there. I don't even know what I was talking about before I went on that rant, but yeah, it's just weird to me that they released the accolades during a time where they literally aren't even in the offices to fix it. And I don't know if it's ever gonna be fixed. Like, I don't think accolades is ever gonna work how Epic wants it to. Oh yeah, I was talking about how I like it, and then I went on a rant about how it's broken. But overall, I like the system because, yeah, I was playing some creative games today. There's a lot of fun modes out right now in Discovery. Actually, like Discovery's pretty solid right now. There's not a lot of spam stuff, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, just playing some gun games, playing some racing maps, and just earning XP by doing that. Like I barely played. I played like one BR match today, and I earned like 4 levels. So that was fun, you know. And honestly, there's a lot of fun gun games out there. You'll probably see it in the background footage that I post this week, or in videos that I post this week. So, yeah, overall, really fun. Now, a big reason that this podcast is really late, like it's coming out pretty late today, is that I was waiting to make sure, just to be 100% sure, that there wasn't going to be a downtime announcement. Because it is Monday, it's a Monday night, and Epic, I think, is home from break at this point. Um, I didn't expect there to be a downtime announcement, but there was the possibility. So I waited it out. I played some Fortnite with friends, and now we're here. So, um, yeah, overall, just really enjoying creative and enjoying playing creative game modes and getting XP from it because it's nice to be able to just have fun in creative and then just get XP from it along the way. It's nice to just be able to hang out and not grind out BR. As fun as BR is right now, it's nice to be able to just sit in creative and chill and play some games to earn XP. So happy about that. But yeah, so of course no downtime announcement, which I wasn't expecting. But I just wanted to make sure because you never know. And I didn't want to make a podcast before that happened. So I'm guessing next week is when we're going to get the update, which I think most people are kind of thinking as well. So we got one more week until we probably are going to start seeing some new content for Chapter 2, finally. I say finally, but I don't really mind it. It's just been a while. Because for me personally, like, Chapter 3 has just been really fun. Again, like I talked about before, I took a bit of break from Fortnite this past week, but that's only because I played it so much for the first few weeks it was out. I think most people are kind of in the same boat. They're comfortable with Chapter 3 at this point. They're having a good time, for me personally at least, and from kind of the idea I've got on Twitter. I know everyone has their own opinions about it though. But for me, it's like the hype is died down, but the fun factor is still there. Like, it's still fun. It's just not as hype to me. Like, I'm not as hyped to get on the game all the time because, you know, obviously it's been a few weeks. And yeah, at this point, I'm kind of just waiting for the next update, especially for the channel, just to start making a bunch of videos on the new content. And I think once that update rolls out, it's just going to be super, super fun, super hyped up again. And yeah, but right now it's just fun. There's a difference for me between hype and fun. Like, even though I'm not super hyped about the game right now, like I'm not super into the game at the moment because of the lack of content, which again isn't a problem. I always have to preface that because if I say it without prefacing it, people are gonna think I'm talking negative about the game, and that's not how I feel at all. The lack of updates is completely understandable, and it's fine, and I don't have an issue with it. Just gotta preface that. But it does result in me not being as into or hyped about the game right now, but that also doesn't mean I'm not having as much fun with it, because when I do get on the game, I am having a really good time, because the season's really good, in my opinion. So, yeah, just thought I'd preface that. If anyone hears me say that I'm not super hyped about the game or whatever right now, doesn't mean I'm not having a fun time. It just means not really a lot of really cool stuff to talk about at the moment, but it's still just a solid time right now. Like, the game is fun. But I am just really hyped. I'm excited for next week's update, assuming it is next week. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm hoping that we get weather. I'm really hoping we get weather. I want to see tornadoes. I want to see some thunder. I think that's going to be a good update to the game. I also hope we get some more skins, but I kind of doubt. Like, I think skins are kind of going to be on the back burner for a bit because we got so many in the Christmas update. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens there. Yeah, also, there's like these IO drill outposts. We got some images of them now. I think I talked about them last week. So those will probably start appearing in the next update. I doubt this update, but hey, maybe. And I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed and I'm really realizing how little news we really got this week. There's rumors of some tent improvements, being able to upgrade it, which would be cool. The pirate map was updated in the files. That's interesting. The Snow Stealth Sloan skin, I actually said that on the first try, came out. You guys have no idea how many times I had to re-say that during my video that I made of the skin. But, or of the crew packs, rather. Yeah, just not a fan of the crew pack right now. I still think the crew pack's worth it. I made a whole video about this, but I'll summarize it here. I still think the crew pack's worth it. I'm just really been kind of disappointed by the skins. I just don't think the crew packs really had that many standout skins, and I just wish we could get some better skins in the crew pack. But I still think it's worth the price. The pickaxe that comes with the skin is actually pretty clean, so I'll give it that. Not really sure about the wrap or anything else, but yeah. I'm fine with it. I just wish we got some better skins. Also, apparently Microsoft is working with Epic to bring more characters to this game, so probably more Microsoft-owned characters coming to Fortnite. I hope we get like a customizable like a customizable Halo skin. I think that would be really cool. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know if they'd do that with Master Chief already in the game, but who knows? It'd be interesting to get like different Spartans. I think that would be pretty cool. And yeah, that's kind of it. Like, in terms of news, that's kind of it. Like, last week we talked about the concept skins coming in the game. We talked about Boba Fett. We talked about the rocket launching, you know. Not really launching, but the whole 7 storyline stuff. But yeah, really not anything. Like, Winterfest is about to end, which makes me really sad because that means the snowball launcher is going to go away, and there's leaks that maybe we're going to get the rocket launcher back, or not the rocket launcher, but the grenade launcher back. I really hope that's true because the snowball launcher is so much fun. I hope we just get the grenade launcher back with that new proximity kind of thing with it. That would just be so good. Because I just love the snowball launcher. And I would love to see... I just want to see explosives stay in the game. Explosive weapons are really fun. And I just want to see them stay. So yeah, again, that's pretty much all the news, and I completely understand it. Like, Epic's still on break. I think this last week was kind of just a bland week for a lot of things. Like, not really a lot happened. You know, it was New Year's. New Year's was fun, but, you know, it was kind of just a nice chill week for I would hope most people just had a nice, good week. Hope you listening had a nice, good week. I had a pretty chill week, and I think that's kind of how it's been the past week. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense not to have a bunch of Fortnite news to talk about right now because really there isn't a lot happening in general at the moment. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the news. I think, honestly, I might just go on to viewer questions and just talk to you guys, interact, and have some chats with the questions here. So, yeah, like always, if you guys ever want to ask questions on the podcast, I always make community posts on my YouTube channel about it, and sometimes even on my Twitter. But I don't think I did that this week. Okay, so Monkey asks, what theme for a collab season would you want to see? I'd want to see a Gaming Legend theme season. I talked about this a bit last season, or last week, but I think if I were to want any collaboration for an entire season, I think I'd go with Star Wars. Just because it has like the most, I don't know, it just seems like a big enough thing to make a season out of, and it seems like it could have a lot of potential. Like, I think a Star Wars season would genuinely it could genuinely be fun if they did it better than the Marvel one. But yeah, I talked about that last week, so I'm not gonna go talk about it the whole thing now. But yeah, I think a Star Wars season, I wouldn't mind it again as long as they do it well. Um, Jacko asks, how do you come up with your storylines? Also, how do you plan out your maps? So when it comes to planning out maps, I'll answer this first because this is the easier question to answer. Um, it usually, if we have an idea, we just make a concept of the map. And a lot of times, if the concept is like good enough, then we'll just go with it. But a lot of the time, we make concepts on ideas that don't really work. And I think that's important because it's always good to just try something, even if you're not sure it's going to work. And I think even if you have an idea that you really think is good, maybe you start building it and you realize that it really doesn't work. So, and that's not a bad thing. Like, that's a good thing because most of the time, if we make something that we're like, oh, this isn't working, we know why. We're able to figure out why. And we're like, okay, well, how about this idea instead? We'll kind of improve upon and expand upon it. So that's kind of how we plan out maps. A lot of just thinking of an idea and then thinking of just making a concept of it. Making not even a full map sometimes, just a small little building or a small little area that would represent that. And we've made a lot of just smaller concepts. We've made entire season concepts before. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they get made into the full season, sometimes they don't. And we try a different one. So, yeah, a big example of that was with, I want to say season 3 of Untitled Chapter 2. We kind of had the whole alien thing before, and we were going to do a whole just alien season without even the slurp stuff. It was just going to be alien. But unfortunately, Epic Games ended up doing that first. We had a whole thing planned for it. We were going to make a season before. But Epic Games had their season. So we kind of had to change gears there. We ended up doing the whole summer thing. And we still wanted to use the idea of like aliens because we thought it was cool, but we decided to add a twist with the whole slurp stuff. So that's one of those things where it's like it was kind of out of our control because we just didn't want to end up looking like we were copying Fortnite or doing something too similar. But that's also a kind of an example of when something doesn't work, we changed it, and again, we made a whole concept for that alien thing, and it was going to be season 2. But then we end up using that thing for the slurp creatures, and a lot of those ideas from season 2 went to season 3, so stuff like that happens. And yeah, overall, that's just kind of how that. When it comes to coming up with storyline, that's a tough one. Storyline's been probably the hardest thing to figure out. Some things just click, and there's moments when we're thinking about the storyline where the story just clicks in our heads. We're just like, okay, that makes sense. That's what we're gonna do, and but then some stuff just takes a long time, and it was really a struggle at the start of chapter 2. That's why we took so long to get the storyline going, because there was so much setup that we needed to do for the chapter 2 story to work, and that kind of all happened in season 3. So that was kind of difficult, and I kind of look back and I'm like, I feel like we could have done it better. But I think what we did got us to a really good point in the storyline right now, and some of the best Brimwell storytelling is about to happen in the next few seasons. So I'm just really excited about that. So I think we're like in the best part of Brim's storyline. But I don't know, like overall, like just coming up with an idea. When it comes to coming up with an idea, I think most of it comes from like what would make sense for the characters to do and what would make sense for them to like go through. And especially the map, like the map itself. We usually think like I don't know. I'm trying to think because sometimes we think of the storyline first and then what we want the theme of the season to be, but then a lot of the time we think of the actual season theme first and then we write the story around it. But it depends on the season. Like I think for season 3, we had the storyline in our head, and then we came up with a theme to go with the story we were telling, which, again, if it was season 2, it was going to be the alien thing, but we had to rebrand that season and rethink about it with the slurp stuff, and we had all the slurp stuff and we had all the other things, and we kind of added the movie theme to that, um, because we had the storyline. But then with like season 4, we knew for season 4 we wanted a medieval theme, but we had to write the story and how that would happen. So yeah, but the whole like we knew basic parts, we just didn't know how it was all gonna work. We didn't really have fusion in our heads until like we had fusion in our heads, but we didn't really know how it was gonna work in the story until we came up with the theme for the season and vice versa. So I don't know. It's hard for me to answer how you can come up with a storyline because that's such a complex thing. Like it all comes from just I don't know. Like it all comes from just like your thought process on everything and how you view stuff. Like I think it's important to have an idea of where your story's going to go before you start your map. Like I think before you even do anything for your map, or at least before you do anything with your like season. Like say you have the base version of your map, that's great. But say you're working on a season 2, I think it's important to know who your characters are, especially like your main character. Like you don't even need a ton of characters. Like Brim right now barely has any characters. The Logger's like the main, and then you got Fusion and stuff. So you don't even need that many characters. But say you have like your main character, what is something you want them to do? What is an arc that you want them to go through? Because I think character is a really important thing, and having a main character can be important for a storyline. But it's also important to make them like make it apparent what they're trying to do. And then also conflict is a huge thing. Like you always need conflict as well, which is why every season usually introduces some kind of new threat because you always need a conflict for the main character to go up against to make the story interesting. And with Brim, it's usually, and even Fortnite itself, it's usually the conflict that stems like the character's goals. Like usually the character only has goals due to a conflict that's happening, and it's usually just to solve the conflict, which is kind of what happens in most BRs, most in Fortnite itself, and that's a very good system to go by if you're just trying to think of, well, I want to have a season. You need it usually for a story you need per season. Sorry, I hope I'm making sense. I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I'll say this: if you want a good season storyline, like a solid storyline, you need a character. You need at least one main character, I think. And like, I mean, you don't have to do it this way. This is just how a lot of Brim seasons are written. You'd have one main character. You have some kind of conflict. Doesn't necessarily have to be a certain threat or a certain person, just some kind of conflict happening on the island. You need a good explanation for why that conflict is happening, or a good reason for how that conflict got to the island or is happening on the island or whatever. And then you just need a good, just something to be resolved or continued by the end of it. And you don't necessarily have to have the resolution to be in that like season, because a lot of the time stories span across multiple seasons. Some plots are resolved, and just because it's resolved doesn't mean the hero wins, you know? Doesn't have to be a good ending. You know, like for the whole alien thing, the whole Slurp alien plotline in Brimorale was resolved, but it wasn't like a happy ending. Like, they did what they set out to do. They got to the island. They exposed the 0 point. That was a whole... that was a story arc. Not really necessarily an arc, but like a plot line that got resolved from that season. But then it started a whole new plot line that we're currently in. So, yeah, storytelling's kind of complex. There's kind of a lot to it. It's hard to do it well. Like, making the Brim storyline for me has been really difficult, but it's been really rewarding when we pull off like good moments. And I'm just really excited for what's coming next. Like, I think the best of Brimorale's story is yet to come. I think we're getting to some of the juicy stuff, and I'm really excited about it. Because yeah, storytelling can be difficult. It's really hard, especially when, like, me personally, I don't have a ton of experience in it. Brim is kind of one of my first goes at kind of trying to make a complete story. So yeah, it's definitely difficult. There's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for improvement, and I think as more people keep making mini BRs, I think storylines are only going to get better and better. So yeah, sorry if that was like a long-winded reply to that. So hopefully you got something out of that. Hopefully you understood something I said. But yeah, I tried to. That was kind of rambly. I apologize, but I tried to make that as clear, I guess, as I possibly could. But again, it's a very complicated subject, at least for me. Like storytelling is very broad. It's very difficult, in my opinion. But it's really fun. It's a really fun thing about BRs is the storylines. Ratspat asks, if you had a option to add everything to create it or to fix every bug, what would you choose? If we could live in a world where creative never had a bug in it and just continued where we're going, then I would much rather live in that world than to have everything in creative and have like half the stuff be broken. Because if we had everything in creative, half the stuff would be broken. So yeah, I'd rather live in a bug-free world. As long as creative updates are going the way they're going at the moment, I'd rather live in a bug-free world. I'd rather never have bugs to worry about because bugs in creative suck and they're very annoying to deal with. Very, very annoying to deal with. Minizoid asks, what are 3 things you expect from creative in Chapter 3? 3 things I expect from creative. Well, it's hard to really expect anything. I mean, I expect Creative 2.0 to come out this chapter. I expect that, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I expect the Melee device to come out. I fully expect the Melee device to come out in Chapter 3. Don't know if it'll even be this year, but we'll just have to wait and see. The year just started, so I'm holding out hope for that device, the Melee device. But it's a complicated one. And then I would say like the Henchman device too, but I don't know, that seems like an obvious one. I feel like the Henchman device could come out before the Melee thing, but I don't know. But Melee and Henchman would be nice. In terms of something that just hasn't been revealed at all yet, though, I kind of expect them to make an even larger island than XL. I think that's like a thing I feel like they're gonna do that. And it probably won't be till like near the end of chapter 3, but I kind of fully expect them to make a larger island. I think that could happen. And maybe big memory improvements. So thermometer was a huge one. So it would be cool to just see an overall just rework of memory with like how much things cost. Because thermometer's helpful. Thermometer's great. I'm really glad that it was added because it lets us make even grander maps than before. But there's issues with it, as there is with a lot of things in creative. And I think it would be nice to just see a rework of how memory works. Like, some things just cost so much memory for like no reason. And like the memory, like I get what the memory's there. It's mostly for optimization of mobile and Switch. But at this point, that kind of like, I don't know. I feel like there's a way that they could do it better. And I don't want to say I expect it, but I'm more so hoping for some memory improvements. But in terms of expectations, I kind of expect them to release a larger island than XL. I expect them to release Creative 2.0 in Chapter 3, and I expect them to release the Melee device and Henchman. So those are, I guess, my expectations. The memory thing's more of a hope, because honestly, I don't really expect that at all, if I'm being honest. Broccoli asks, do you go through troubles with making Brumal, just seasons of it? Plan on giving up sometimes. There's never been a time where I've wanted to not make Brum. There's never been a single. Now, other maps maybe, like other maps that aren't Brim that me and the dev team have worked on that have never seen the light of day, yeah. There's been plenty of maps that we've just given up on. And there's been plenty of maps that we stopped developing that we still plan to make, you know? But when it comes to Brim Royale, there's never been a time when I've wanted to stop making it because it's just that much fun. But yes, there are many troubles. Like I said before, there's many seasons that get scrapped. There's many seasons that don't happen. There's many seasons that we have to remake and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of problems that happen behind development. But overall, it's always worth it. It's always worth it. Like, sometimes it can be pretty difficult. Sometimes it can just be fun and easy. It depends on what we're working on, the scope, and what we're doing. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't say that there's ever been a time we wanted to give up. Not for Brim, at least. For other maps, maybe, that have never seen the light of day. And even maps that we've given up on that we were like, well, yeah, we give up on it now, but once we have better things to work with, then, well, we're going to try that again and rethink about it. Because a big thing about creative is just if something isn't working, that doesn't mean that you can never do it. Like, there's been plenty of times where we've tried to do something and it just doesn't work, but it's always a good learning experience to learn back and like evaluate why it didn't work. Why did something not work so that we can make it work in the future? Or maybe we don't want to make that specific idea work, but we can take what we learned from that and apply it to this new idea that we have. And that's really important too. So yeah, of course there's been it's can be difficult sometimes, but it can also be really, really fun. It depends what's happening. Depends on what we're working on. DL Dax02, sorry if I mispronounced that. So what motivated you to do a BR, or who did? For me personally, I don't think any specific person was like motivated me, because I kind of discovered the whole mini BR scene after I already knew I wanted to do it. Of course, Brim Royale came out kind of while I was first discovering creative, like the creative community on YouTube, but I don't think it really stemmed from that, because the reason I even found the creative community is because I was trying to learn about creative in general, because I wanted to make my own maps and I wanted to make a mini BR, and that's how I stumbled upon the creative community itself. So yeah, I don't know if any specific person really made me want to do it, because I hadn't really seen many people do it when I wanted to until Brim happened. But I've always been wanting to make mini BRs ever since. Like, if there's a game that I really like, usually in my head I'd be like, what if I could make this game myself? What if I had the power to design this genre of game myself? So Fortnite was one of those things where it's like, man, if I ever had the tools one day to make my own version of the Fortnite map, I wonder what that would look like. And that's why creative was so exciting to me when it first came out. But unfortunately, back then when creative first came out, there wasn't really the tools to do that. It was very hard to actually make a mini BR back then. So I tried, I made some really bad ones, and I don't think they would even be considered mini BRs to this day. And I don't have those maps anymore. They're probably long gone, because I delete so many maps because there's only so much space for maps that you can have. But I think ever since, even before creative came out, I just wanted to make a mini BR, because in my head, whenever I play a game I really like, I'm always like, I wish this game had a creation tool. I wish I could create my own version of this game, because I love stuff like that. So I think what motivated, honestly, if I was to think of anything that motivated me to make a mini BR, it's Fortnite itself. It was Fortnite Chapter 1. Just the map, the game at that time just motivated me to want to make my own version of that. And if you want to even go farther, I'd say Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 4 motivated me to make Brim, because, or at least to start a BR. Because the main reason that I thought making a BR would be so interesting at that time was because I was really not enjoying the game, which may seem different than what you would expect. Because yeah, Chapter 2 Season 4, it didn't motivate me because it was so good that it inspired me. It motivated me because I didn't enjoy it, so I wanted to make something that was better than it. I wanted to make something more fun than normal BR. Which I don't know if I can say Brim is more fun than normal BR anymore, because Chapter 3 is just so good. But, you know, back in Chapter 2, I think Brim is definitely more fun, and we kind of achieved that goal. Nowadays, I'm not so sure. I'd like to say that, but they've been doing such a good job with Chapter 3. And then for the last question, Dramatron asks, red or green? I'm going to have to go with green. I like green. Green used to be my favorite color. Not really anymore. Now it's cyan, but green's a good color, and I'd take it over red any day of the week. But wow, yeah, that episode actually went longer than I thought it would. Again, I always go on here being like, oh, there's no news to talk about, oh, nothing else. But you guys have some amazing questions. You guys have brought some amazing discussion to the table. So thank you guys so much for all the questions you guys give me. It truly makes these podcasts what they are, because without these questions, these podcasts would be like 20 minutes long. So I hope you guys enjoyed my ranting and rambling. This was definitely a very rambly podcast. Not sure how much of it you actually managed to understand, but Glad that you're here. I'm glad you listened all the way to the end if you're listening to this. And yeah, I'm not even going to do an outro. I'm not going to tell you to leave a like because I just want to. I'm just going to head out. I'm just going to head out. This is kind of off the cuff podcast, a bit more laid back, a bit more random, a bit more rambly. And I think it would only be fitting to just, you know, just say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I'll see you guys next week.